call to order this very first meeting of the Daytona Beach Youth Advisory Board. First thing I'm going to do is a roll call. So it's Coy Devlin.
Here.
Shaylin Dunn. Here. Brianna Gardner. Nadia Hamilton.
Here.
Ronnie Johnson.
Here.
Devin Stanley. Joshua Stubbs.
Here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. And by a quorum, I mean because we're a board of 7, that means that we have to have at least 5 members present in order to have business for the meeting. So, and since I'm going to ask Ronnie, since you're the first one I spy with my little eye, if you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We're going to move on to presentation. Jackson, you want to go ahead? Go. Or I think they have me queued up. I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so City of Daytona. Okay. So what is a city? And I don't know, any of you guys that went to Mainland, I did a presentation that was similar to this at Mainland in September of 2023. Does anybody, it was just a certain English class that I did. So I didn't know if any of you were in that class. Okay. I don't want to be going over something you've seen over before. So a city is municipal government. And a municipality can be, in Florida, can be a city, a town, or a village. In Florida, there's no difference between a city, town, or a village. They all mean the same thing. And it's really up to the citizens to decide whether or not they want to be a city, a town, or a village. So the founding citizens, they choose the name of the city, and in doing so, decide what to call the municipality. So whether it's city, town, or village. So who is a citizen in my city? Are you guys citizens of your?
Yes.
You are. So a citizen is a resident of a city, state, or nation and consumer of public services. So where you might be like, well, I'm not old enough to vote yet, but you still are a citizen of our city because we serve you with our public services. Only 50% of Florida's residents live inside a city, town, or village, and the other half of Florida residents live in unincorporated county areas which are not part of a municipality. Living in a municipality is a choice, and it is the only optional local government in Florida. So, cities have certain rights and privileges, just like the state and the federal government, and a city only serves the citizens living within our city limits. Now, we're in a unique position here in the city of Daytona Beach because we do serve visitors and tourists because we are such a large tourist destination. So we have, Bike Week, we have Race Week, we have Jeep Beach Week now, all those things. Everyone comes here for Memorial Day and things like that. So we serve not only the citizens, but the city of Daytona Beach serves all of those tourists as well to keep them safe, keep them healthy. To form a city, citizens create a charter. So our city was created by a charter, and I don't think I've gotten you guys a copy. I will make sure to get you guys a copy of our city charter. So in that city charter, it's like the Constitution of the United States. It gives all the functions and powers that our city has. And an ordinance is a law enacted by a city or a county affecting local affairs. So we have what's called a code of ordinances, and those will affect, we just had one about pigeon feeding that's coming forward. You can't feed the pigeons, where to park, things like that, what you can build on your property, how tall, how high. That includes our land development code. So we have things where you might have to get a permit to do something, and where things you just have a property right to do. So let's see if I hit this, if it'll play. Whoops.
I got it here.
Thank you.
Hey there. I sure am glad to see you because I need some help. You see, my family and I live in a community right here in Florida where there's sunshine all the time. Well, unless there's a hurricane, of course. Or one of those 1-hour afternoon rainstorms. Anyway, my neighbors are real friendly and we like to help each other out.
Hi, Bob. Need some help? Why, yes, I do.
One day, we decided we wanted a community park. It would have a playground and a baseball field and a soccer field and walking trails and one of those big water fountains that you can run in and out of and get wet. We wanted everything you could think of.
Who's gonna mow the grass?
What about lights for night games?
What about maintenance?
Where's the water coming from for the fountain?
So, you see, we could really use some help in figuring out how to do this.
Hey, why don't you form a municipality?
A what?
You know, a city, a town, a village. They all mean the same thing in Florida. A municipality. It's a community. Doesn't matter what size, really, that's run by the people who live there. Kind of like a business. In fact, municipalities are actually corporations with very specific powers.
Really? So, how would it work?
Well, let's say a group of neighbors, like yours, for example, all decide they want more services than they have now. You know, like a shared water system instead of each person having their own well, and a central sewer system instead of each person having a septic tank, and a fire truck, with firemen, of course, in case someone's house catches on fire, and police officers to protect everyone.
Whoa, who's gonna pay for all of that? And who's in charge?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Who's in charge here?
When you form a municipality, you elect a handful of people to be city officials, sometimes as little as 3, but usually 5 or 7. It's best to have an odd number in case they vote on something and need a tiebreaker. The city officials are called commissioners or council members, and the leader of the group is usually called the mayor, but not always. The residents of a city then decide which services they want and write it all down in their charter.
A charter?
Yep, a city's charter is kind of like its constitution, a social contract of sorts that is adopted by the people it governs. Every city in Florida has one, and it can only be changed by the residents, not the elected officials.
Thank you for the charter.
But wait, I'd like to change something.
Sorry, can't do that. Only the people can do that. See ya.
Okay, but you still didn't tell me how it all gets paid for.
Ah, yes, that's where property taxes and user fees come in.
Property taxes? User fees?
That's what homeowners and businesses pay based on the value of the actual property they own. It's based on a thing called the millage rate.
Millage rate?
Yeah, I know. It's a funny word. It's actually Latin, and it means thousand.
Not a million?
No, I know that mill sounds more like million, but it means thousand. Anyway, when it comes to property taxes, 1 mil is 0.001, or 1/1000. So, if a property is valued at 100,000 and you multiply it by 0.001, the amount of the property tax would be...
10?
Nope.
1,000?
Try again. Come on, use those math skills. You can do it.
100?
Right.
Yes! I knew that.
Sure you did. Before a millage rate can be set, the people running the city need to know a few things first, like how many residents live inside the municipal boundary. You probably call it the city limit. How many people receive services? How much do the services actually cost? What about city employees? You then take all of these numbers divided by the total value of all the properties.
You're doing math.
I know, but we need to know these things so everyone pays their fair share for all the city provides.
I guess I should have paid more attention in math class. Okay, that's what property taxes and user fees are for. Got it.
Right. And they pay for all sorts of services that enhance our quality of life.
Like Parks and Rec?
Right. And solid waste and garbage disposal.
And water and sewage.
There you go. How about libraries? That's where I learned all the stuff.
And cemeteries, and urban planning and economic development.
You got it. And others to keep the public safe, like
The police department.
yes, and the fire department.
Building inspection.
And the people you call when a wild alligator climbs a fence into your yard.
Whoa, what?
You know, animal control.
Oh, right.
And transportation, airports, buses, road maintenance, bicycle paths, sidewalks.
Wow, I guess cities really do provide a lot of services. But again, who's in charge of it all?
It depends. Some cities choose the mayor-council form of government, and some choose the council-manager form.
Wow, I thought this was going to be easy.
It's not that hard. In a mayor-council form of government, you can either have a strong mayor or a weak mayor.
Strong? You mean like weightlifter strong? What does that have to do with government?
I'm not talking about personalities or physique. I'm referring to political power. A strong mayor has lots of responsibilities and can make some important decisions on his own. A weak mayor has the same power and responsibilities as the other council members. In this case, the mayor just runs the meetings. In a council manager form, however, the elected officials are more like a board of directors, and they hire a CEO to run things at the city. That's called the city manager. There are other forms too, but these are the main ones.
Well, which one is the best?
That's a great question, but it's hard to answer.
I thought you said this was going to be easy.
Listen, it all comes back to what do the people want. Do they want one person in charge or several? Do they want those in charge to be elected or just take direction from electeds? All these questions are answered by the people of a given community based on their needs.
How do you know what kind of city you live in?
Remember the charter? It holds lots of answers.
Okay, Miss Smarty Pants. You didn't talk about the military. Who's in charge of that?
Well, that's the federal government. In the United States, we have several layers of government that do different things. We have the federal government. That's the big one in Washington, D.C. And it has 3 branches of government. The executive branch, that's the president. The legislative branch, Congress. And the judicial branch, Supreme Court. Those 3 branches affect laws governing the whole country. Then there are 50 states, and each one has at least 3 branches of government, just like the federal government. In Florida, the executive branch is the governor's office. The legislative branch is the state legislature in Tallahassee, and the judicial branch is the state Supreme Court. Then there are counties. In Florida, counties are basically tiny states with yet another layer of government. There are 67 of those. Did you know no matter where you go in the state, you're always in a county? Then there's school districts and water management districts and fire districts and hundreds more special districts.
So municipal government is where people that live in a community make decisions for just the people in that community.
Right. It's called home rule. The people of Florida granted cities and counties the right to make their own decisions about their own services in their own communities right at home, without having to go to Tallahassee or Washington, D.C. to get approval, with some exceptions.
I see. Okay, so what happens if some people who live in a community don't agree? Like, let's say that some people want a pool in the park and other people want a baseball field with lights. But there's only enough money in the budget to do one thing or the other. Do they go to the state legislature?
Nope. Those decisions are made right at home by the municipal or county government. To solve that problem, one option would be to increase the millage rate. Remember millage rate? Which would raise taxes to pay for both. But if nobody wants to pay more taxes, what would probably happen is the city officials will hold a public meeting where everyone is invited. That's the best part about local government. You get to have a voice in what happens. You can text, email, call, or even better, show up and speak. Once all the positions are heard, the city officials will take a vote and then tell city staff what to do based on the outcome.
But what if you don't like the decision that was made?
Well, you might not always get what you want, but if you don't like it, you can always move to another town, or protest, or run for office.
You know, it seems to me that local government affects our communities much more than any other layer of government.
Absolutely. It's the government closest and most responsive to the people. We need local government. Elected officials and the staff they employ are the best equipped to respond to and make decisions about the local communities they serve. They know that what works in Miami or Tampa may not work in Live Oak or Chattahoochee, and that's okay. Florida has over 400 cities, And they are all different, with different people, with different needs, with different cool things about them.
I like that about our state. It's filled with diversity.
I like it too.
So remember that park that my neighbors and I wanted to build?
I want a volleyball court.
What about a rock wall? I want a climbing rock
How
wall.
about a disc golf course?
What? A disc golf course?
Why not?
I don't think so.
Now that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, who gonna pay for that?
What about another bathroom? We could use another bathroom.
Everyone, stop fighting. Let's take this to City Hall.
And that is city government in a nutshell.
So here at the city of Daytona Beach, we're in the county of Volusia. Our population as of April of 2023 was 80,000 people. I think it's about 82,000 right now. Our city commission, we have one mayor and 6 commissioners. They each represent a separate zone. And the mayor represents the city at large. Does anybody know who our mayor is?
Derek Hammer.
Yep, that's right, Derek Henry. And I'm trying to think who is the commissioner for. Most of you guys are mainland, or you're all mainland?
I'm mainland.
Put me on that spot.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So, and that's in Port Orange. So I don't know who the commissioner is there. But I believe it is Commissioner Reed, who is for. And our form of government, they talked a little bit about it. The difference between a strong mayor and a council manager form of government is our city is a council manager form of government. And we're kind of basing this council on the city commission. So in a council manager form of government, the commission or the board just makes decisions as a body. And the mayor really is the tie-breaking vote. He's the one that runs the meetings, and he also has other ministerial duties that he has. But one individual can't come in and make a change without the rest of them voting on it and agreeing on it. And that's kind of how it'll happen at this board as well. And then the council, they kind of work as like a board of trustees, and then they hire a city manager who, does anybody know who our city manager is? Okay, his name is Derek Fiecher, and I'm going to get him to come and present to you guys. So he can introduce himself, and you guys can get to know him as well. And the city attorney, his name is Ben Gross. Those are the 2 employees that our city commission hires and fires. Everybody else either works for the city attorney. This is the deputy city attorney, Tony Jackson. He works for Mr. Gross, and I work for Mr. Fiecher. He's my boss. So one member of the council can't be like, I'm mad at her, let's get rid of her. They can't do that because they don't have the authority to hire and fire the staff. Only the city manager does. So as you see, our mayor acts as a ceremonial head of the government. He presides over the council, has if any, role on the day-to-day administration. He does sign all the resolutions and ordinances, all the contracts, things like that, as he's presides over the council. And the city commission decides policies and creates ordinances. They approve the budget, and they set short and long-term goals for the city. And one of their goals last year was to create a youth advisory council. So that's what we've set about to do. And the city manager, he's appointed by the city commission, and he's fully responsible for preparing the budget and administration of the entire city. So who works for the city? We have the city commission as the governing body, and the mayor. I am the city clerk. I am considered the record keeper for the city, the custodian of records. I am also the board liaison for the city commission, and I will be the board liaison for the youth advisory board for you guys. The city manager administers all the city business. City attorney represents the city in legal matters. We have the police chief, who's the head of the police department, a fire chief, who's head of the fire department. We have public works, utilities, building inspectors. We also have parks and recreation. Now, Parks and Recreation also has a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and they have asked if they can also interact with you guys as well. So we'll be setting that up sometime in the future to have a member of that board come and present to you guys. And then at some time during your term is a year, we will have you guys choose someone, and it usually would be the chair, present to the city commission of all the activities that you've done during that year. So these are some of the services the city provides: parks and recreation, streets, utility billing, police and fire, code compliance, animal control. Though they had in that video about the alligator, I don't think our animal control would come if you had an alligator. They would make you call Florida Wildlife. So in Florida, there's what municipalities have is what's called home rule power, and that allows us to have proprietary powers to enable to conduct our municipal government and perform municipal functions without having to go to the state or the county. It is one of the most precious powers for cities in Florida, and it's the ability to establish our form of government through our charter and act our ordinances, codes, and plans that best suit our citizens that live in the city of Daytona Beach. We also have citizen boards, which you guys are our newest citizen board. So the commission and the boards are assigned, or sometimes assigned specific powers in policy making and administration, and advisory boards serve as an important function in providing information and expertise to the city. So the city is really interested in our youth, and so they wanted us to establish the City Youth Advisory Board to find out from you guys what you want in your city or what you want out of your city. So these are just some of the boards that we have that are currently active. We have a planning board. Some of these boards have more judicial expertise than like advisory boards. So a planning board will help determine whether a project can go forward or not to the city commission. So what do you want in your city? So that's what this board's function is going to be. There's going to be projects that we're going to be involved in as we come forward, and we're also going to get you guys to kind of express to the city commission what you guys are looking for in the city of Daytona Beach. Okay. I'm going to turn this over to our deputy city attorney.
Good afternoon. I'm Anthony Jackson. As Letitia said, Tony Jackson. I don't know what this is. I've been around the last 25 years, and it's more people know me as Tony Jackson, but I still sign as Anthony. What I was asked to speak to you about is the Sunshine Law and the Public Records Law, which is something that's important regarding all our boards. I've sat and I've spoken with members when they come to boards new individually, as well as spoke to them as boards at large. And it's not very complex, but it's very important. So it's something that you need to just learn. And nothing to worry about, although there is some things that when I say it, it may sound like you should worry about it, because it is some very serious matters that you need to understand and follow in terms of those rules. So Florida Sunshine Law, and I'll be looking at the agenda packet if you happen to have that. But I also have some additional material that I'll speak to as well.
So there should be in your packet there in front of you this City of Daytona Beach Youth Advisory Participation Handbook. And we mailed them out too. Did you guys receive them as well through the mail?
I did.
You didn't? Okay. Did anybody else? Okay. With the welcome letter?
Looks like
Okay.
this.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad then we reprinted
But you'll be
them.
fine without it. I'll
Yeah.
be reading from it a little bit. I will try not to just bore you with reading. You could have done that on your own. But there are some important things that's said in this. I think this is a single page, and then I have additional information. So the Florida Sunshine Law was enacted in 1967, establishes the basic right of access to most meetings of boards, commissions, and other governing bodies of state and local government agencies or authorities. And what the Sunshine Law requires is that meetings of a public board, which all are, or commissions, must be open to the public. You heard him saying before, the public wants to have a voice and have a right to have a voice. And the way they have that voice is that they open, when you have a meeting, they have a right to know what you're meeting about, what you're talking about, and even have an opportunity to be able, in many circumstances, to be heard. And so, so one of the things is the law requires that the meetings of public boards be open to the public. Another thing is that reasonable notice of those meetings must be given. You have to make sure the public knows that you're going to have a meeting, so that if they want to come and they want to be a part, they want to hear, they want to have some input, they know that they can because we've given them notice. There are legal guidelines on what kind of notice and how much time is required, and generally the city clerk is the one that would be most aware and able to ensure that that occurs.
So we
or
put
your board
notices,
liaisons.
I'm sorry, we put notices around City Hall, and we also notice on our website. So if you go to codb.us, you can see our calendar, and you'll see, like today, this was advertised for 4 o'clock to make sure that everybody that the public has an opportunity to attend if they want to.
And we've even gone further by ensuring that we generally broadcast all of these meetings as well, so they have the opportunity to see them on television or on internet, and your family gets a chance to see if they so desire as well by going to the internet and watching it as well. Live, and I think we generally will rebroadcast. I think that's what they intend to do with this meeting. And then thirdly, the law requires that the minutes of the meeting must be taken and promptly recorded or made. So someone needs to take minutes and then get them approved and then make them part of a record that's retained, and the period for those retentions and so forth, again, is back to pointing to your city clerk to ensure that those are kept up and kept at in the manner which is required by law.
And we're going to, part of the board is going to be, one of you is going to be appointed as a board secretary, where my office will be doing the actual minutes for the board, but the board secretary will assist us with those in taking notes of what actions have happened, what the vote results were on an action. Sorry.
Okay, and so the Sunshine Law applies to elected and appointed boards, and y'all, again, being an appointed board at state and local level, and any other gathering of 2 or more members of the same board to discuss matters that is anticipated to come before the board for action. What does that mean? That means if at least two members or more come together from any board or any committee, and they discuss matters that will be coming before the board, then the Sunshine Law applies. Means that you're required to recognize these rules as I tell them to you. So what does that mean? That means that if you have a friend that's on the board and y'all are friends and y'all get together, if you're going to discuss things that's going to be coming before you for consideration as a board, then you can't. That doesn't mean you can't have friends, and you get to talk about things that you always talk about, but when it comes to matters that will be coming before the board that you'll be making decisions about, you don't talk about those. You only do that in the sunshine. Okay? So public record law provides a right of access to the records of state local governments. So that was really sunshine, and then you also have the public record itself. Public record is those records which are being received and utilized in the normal function of you as a board or function of the city. So if someone said, provided to you I don't know, give me a good example. Yeah, let's do that. A handout. Someone came and they made a presentation. They gave out a handout. and they were discussing something that they want y'all to consider, then we need to be able to hang on to at least one copy of that and put it in the record and hang on to that as part of our record. That's called a public record, and the public has a right to access to that. So people who are at the meeting, and even people who have never been to the meeting, if they know that that exists or even want to know if it exists, they will contact the city clerk or any member of the city, really, and they can ask for that record, and that record should be made available and provided unless there's some other lawful reason why it would not be. And this, as I said before, when we talk about that, the way that y'all can come together, that's what, regardless of the type of board you're in. And when we start talking about the records, those records includes tapes, emails, photographs, films, videos, anything. And that's important to know, because that means if you're passing around emails about what's a function of your decision making, then those emails, or that's part of the public business, what's happening in the city, they very well may be a public record, and when you're not sure, then you want to check with your board liaison, or ultimately that someone would probably check with legal and say, okay, yeah, they need to hold on to that. And sometimes it's something that you may not even be supposed to discuss, because we go back to that first rule I was talking about, the sunshine rule, and the sunshine rule would say, well, hey, other people aren't seeing this while you're talking about it, and they don't know what you're discussing. So you can't discuss by text, by email, by phone, by third party, by smoke signal. You can't discuss things that you're going to be discussing as members of the board. Discuss, what happened in class, or what happened at another school, or what's on TV. But the things that the board has to consider, you don't discuss that outside the presence of the public. And that's the presence of the public, even if there's no one sitting in the audience. You're still in a public meeting once you've given public notice, and these are things that you have been aware that you would be considering. Understand as well, there are sometimes things that you may not know whether you're not going to be considering it or not. And the suggestion would be you probably just, we're not going to talk about that because that may come before us, and we don't want to have no trouble. And when I say have trouble, what do I mean? Well, willfully violating public records law, sunshine law, can cause administrative fines, and in certain circumstances can also be criminal, the violation of state law. And so you don't want to be violating law, because when people violate law, they get in trouble, right? So we don't want that, and then attorneys have to start doing what attorneys do. So that's something to just be aware of. It's nothing that's really a panic thing. All boards have the same consideration and concerns. When you think it's anything questionable, though, you always back up and you ask. I'm not sure. We wanted to meet and talk. No, you're not going to be able to meet about that. Or we thought if we had some time, we just want to kind of get together, like just a friendly gathering, just because we're so used to being together for now 8 months, and we just want to have a little. Well, maybe that's okay, but make sure you know what you're not talking about, because anyone sitting around who hear you talking, if it's something that's going to come before the board, or it can result in being a violation. And so you don't want to be in a violation. I have to take off these glasses a moment. Okay, so I had a couple other things. That's really your basics, though, but let me give you just a little bit more stuff to play with in your mind here. As I said, the government in the Sunshine Law provides that access to the process or the proceedings that's going on among boards or commissions, so elected or appointed boards. And these are laws that have been created, and unless there's some exception in the law, these are laws that all boards abide by. As I said before, you can't engage in private discussions with each other, any other board member, in person, by phone, email, texting, or any other electronic communication. If there's a circumstance where someone texts you something that you believe is public information, then you're supposed to say that as well. And the way that you do that the easiest way to do that is either taking photos of your phone, snaps, what do you call it, screenshots. I was going to get there. Screenshots, or forwarding it to your email, if you have a public email. And they will have public emails.
I don't know if they'll have public
Okay.
emails yet, but you can forward it to me.
That's public, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw the last email I sent out a couple of days ago. And I said, if you guys have any questions, to respond back to me personally. And I put in there, don't hit reply all. And I said, he'll explain why at our first meeting. So that's part of the.
And that's the reason, right? When you hit reply all, now it's a discussion. You've made it available to other people, your viewpoints and your opinions, and sometimes that can become problematic depending on what's being, what the communication is. Something I didn't include when I mentioned texting and all those is also even these communication blocks like Facebook or Snapchat or any of those other things. You need to realize that even that communication, and sometimes it's something that maybe no one will know about, but that doesn't make it okay. So it's just what you can't do. If you're communicating about what you're going to be considering, that becomes problematic. So again, some things it's not a problem, and when you're not sure, just ask. You have a great liaison who's also the most knowledgeable person about records in our city. And in fact, recently certified to be most knowledgeable in many years. And then she would, if she had any questions, she'd come and contact legal, and I'm pretty much the one in legal that works with public records most often. I'm looking at other stuff I have here. Also, you need to know that you can't use a go-between either. If you talk to someone else, to let someone else know that's on the board. So you don't want to do that either. You can't say, Joe, I want you to, next time you're talking to, sorry, I need my glasses back.
Ronnie.
Okay. Next time you're talking, let him know, here's what I'm thinking we should do. That's, again, means the same thing. And that's even if that's a third party or talking to their family member. So just things to keep in mind. Board meetings are governed by 2860114 Florida statutes. That doesn't mean a lot to you right now, but allows for opportunity for the public to be heard. It doesn't prohibit boards from having the quorum and all those things, but it's important to recognize that the nature of these events, the meetings that you have, the stuff that you do as part of this board would be stuff that the public has a right to. The board itself ultimately can define, or the chair can define, the manner in which the public interacts with the board in most circumstances, but there is a necessity to allow some manner of interaction and having the public to be a part of as much as you can, because y'all are really part of them, y'all that extension, and now the opportunity to take your views and the views of the public onto the commission with a wonderful opportunity to hear from young people some good advice on what y'all think the city can benefit from. For open meetings, there's a couple of simple requirements. We talked about them: minutes taken, reasonable notice. Violations of these acts, as I said, unintentional violation, non-criminal, but you can be fined up to $500. That could be the city itself or individual, depending on how those acts occur. Knowing violations, sneaking and getting caught, this can be a punishable misdemeanor offense, up to $500 and up to 60 days jail. Suspension or removal from office, that's generally for people elected and officials. It's not very likely anyone's going to be coming after you trying to get you to do some type of secret deal for their benefit, but you never know. So if someone comes, you say, sorry, I can't talk about that. I'm not, or if you do talk about something with someone else that's not a member of this board, it's important that if that influences or it has some effect on what you have to say or do concerning the board, that you're bringing that up in the meeting so that whatever you are considering, everyone else on the board is considering it as well. So if you had a conversation on outside, someone talked to you about something that you know that y'all will be talking about, you generally would want to say, oh, by the way, this person stopped me in the store and they were telling me all of these things, and I just want to make sure everyone is aware that this is, these viewpoints are out there or whatever it is. And you'll see that happen sometime if you ever watch any commission meetings where, have a commissioner bring up or say that something's going on. And when it's something that's active, y'all are not doing what's called quasi-judicial. I think that Ms. Tish was telling you a little bit earlier that there are some boards that do a bit more, where they act a little bit more like a court. You're acting a little bit more like a court. You'd have even stronger rules. Y'all don't have that function, but you will be an advisory board, so you do have still a means to have the ear of the commission. So it's important to recognize what you're allowed to do. We talked about written correspondence. Got a couple of things to consider too, some scenarios. So I'll give you one or two of those and then I'll be done, I think. So two county commissioners are talking to each other, okay? Let's say we want to make them commissioners, make them board members. So two of you board members are at a football game, having a conversation. When they're commissioners, you may have a reporter nearby, but we'll say you have a reporter nearby just out of interest. Or it's the person from the school paper, right, if you're at school. And you're sitting at a football game, you're just having what seems to be normal conversation. And someone overhears the conversation, but it's actually about what you do on the board. So, are you violating sunshine law because of this conversation you're having, even though you're at a football game, you're not sitting in the commission chambers? That would be a question, right? Or is it, and if you are, is it because the newspaper person is present? Let's ask this question another way. Have you violated the sunshine law if you talked about matters that foreseeably could come before you as a board member before this board? Have you violated the law if you're talking about matters that have been scheduled for a vote by you guys? And the answer is what? Yes, you have, especially B and C. Yes, you have, right? If you're talking about something that foreseeably can come before you, yes. If you're talking about something that you know that you may be voting on, yes. Now, if you're talking about something that someone's overhearing and it's not necessarily have anything to do with what you really do up here, no, you didn't violate anything. You're just having a conversation about a ball game, talking about the guy who's running and whether or not you think he's a good player or not, right? Okay. Commissioner meets privately with another member of the board or board members. You meet privately with each other. We kind of talked about that a little bit. Can the state attorney charge you with violating the sunshine law if y'all are talking about stuff regarding the board? Yeah, you can, right? I said that could be criminal. Can you get charged with criminal? Yeah, we already said that. And can you get fined? And the answer is you can even get a fine. Okay. Well, with that being said, I think you guys are ready. Once you finish your formation of the board and start working with your liaison, all these things have become more. Right now, they're not something you have to think about very much as of today, but what are y'all meeting, monthly or weekly?
We're going to try to meet monthly.
Okay, no one meets weekly. I'm sorry I even said that. So y'all meet monthly. Commission meets twice every other week. Okay, so by the time you come back, you can just keep those kind of thoughts in your mind, though. Now you're on the board. Now you're a member of a public body. And as a member of a public body, you have a public responsibility in terms of the things that you're communicating about related to your functions on this advisory board. Everyone good? Any questions at all? Okay.
Okay. So we're going to move on to election of chair, vice chair, and board secretary. And Tony, even on page 6 of the handbook, it talks a little bit about parliamentary procedure and about motions. Can you just go over a little bit about like how to make a motion?
Well, you just put me on stuff without prep. Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
So, parliamentary procedure, you probably heard that before. That's just the manner in which you run a meeting. Interestingly enough, if I went into the whole element of research, parliamentary procedures are what's commonly referred to by many as Robert's Rules, and it's just a way that you keep order. Ideally, it's really for very large meetings like the Parliament. That's why it's called parliamentary procedure. So they're modified often in smaller bodies like this, but for the most part, you follow those rules, and those rules would affect one, when you're supposed to speak, and you would be recognized by a chair before that, and what happens when the chair calls for a motion, and what those motions would be, and that the process is what happens with the parliamentary procedure. So when I say call for a motion, when y'all are making decisions and y'all have a process, generally the process is going to be that y'all will be discussing something or someone will present something to you for you to consider. And then you'll have the opportunity to make a decision on what you want to do. Well, you heard in the video where you had 2 and 3 and 4 people saying, do this, no, do that, no, do this. But you're the guys that ultimately would say, okay, I got 8 things out here. This is the one we want to do, or this is what I want to do. I'm looking for a motion. Everyone agrees that we want to do that? And so they call for a motion for, and it's usually a motion for the positive, not for the negative. So one motion determining that we will build a bridge with the money that we have, or advise the commission, because y'all don't have the money. Advise the commission that we think the best thing they can do is build a bridge with the money that they have. And so we call for the motion, and then usually someone to make a motion, get a second, or he'll say, is there a second? And if there's no second, the motion dies. If there is a second, then you second the motion, and then it's discussion. Unless Ms. Tish tells me otherwise. and then after they hear some discussion, after you hear discussion, the chair leading the meeting will move forward with a vote, or may back up and do something different based on what was being said, that in the discussion may change the motion slightly, and there's ways that is done, and y'all will be able to consider that when it's done. But that's the basic process, is that the chair is the one that's running the meeting. If one, to keep you from fighting about things, and one want to talk here, one want to talk there, the chair recognizes who speaks. And so the chair will recognize, that doesn't help me a whole lot, but Brianna. So the chair recognizes Brianna, then Brianna can speak, and then when she's finished and someone else wants to say something, well, okay, let me see. Well, chair recognize Ronnie. Is that Ronnie? Yep. And so chair recognize Ronnie. Ronnie will say what he has to say, and then say, okay, well, does anyone else have anything else to say? Chair may even say, how about you, Joshua? How about you? And that's just kind of the way it works. You can take, a lot of this is already on video, so you can see how the big boards do it, and it'd be the same way that y'all do it. But it's just that type of process. And then once you've gotten the input, then you move forward with your vote. And once the vote is taken, you have several ways the vote can be taken. One is could be by just an oral vote. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign. And or it can be by roll call if it's something that's really contentious or something that y'all are really divided on and can't tell for certain. Then just ask you each one individually. Still public vote, because when you vote, it's going to be a public vote. Everybody needs to know that you're voting and what you're voting about. And anytime you're participating unless there's some lawful reason not to vote, you'd be voting. And there's not a whole lot of them for you guys. I would expect that you would not have a reason not to vote. So you just vote. And once we get the record, then you move on to your next agenda item. So any other part of that that I overlooked?
No, I don't think so. So we need to, is there anyone interested in being the chair for this board? Okay. So does someone want to nominate Joshua to be the chair for your board? And all you'd have to say is like, I make a motion to nominate Joshua Stubbs as the chair. I don't think he can make his own motion, but.
No, no one else to speak up. I mean, hopefully y'all are a vocal board here.
Yes.
So someone speak up. Joshua seemed to be very attentive
Josh, yeah, wants
throughout,
to-
so it's, I don't know, it's up to y'all.
You'll make the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so Nadia's making the motion, and so I need a second for that motion. You'll second it? Okay.
And we can't see your name, so tell us.
Decoy, okay.
Okay.
And it was Nadia. So Nadia was the first and Decoy was the second. So all those in favor of appointing Joshua as the chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries 6-0.
Okay, now.
And that's what Joshua will be doing at the next meetings as the chair. He'll be the one that will be calling for the motion, calling the vote, and I will be recording it, and the board secretary will help us with that. So the next appointment is for vice chair. Now, vice chair fills in when the chair is unable to be here. So does anyone want to, for vice chair? Okay, so Brianna, do I have a motion to appoint Brianna as the vice chair? Okay, so that's Joshua. Do I have a second? Oops, okay, Decoy. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 6-0. So Brianna, you are the vice chair. Now, does anyone want to, for the board secretary? And for the board secretary, like I said, our office will actually be doing the minutes, and I will be assisting the board secretary on showing them, how to take a vote down, how to record the action that happened. But our office will be doing the majority of the work. So, does anybody? Okay. So Nadia. So can I get a motion to appoint Nadia as the board secretary? Okay. And you second it? Okay. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion carries 6-0. Fantastic. So our next item to consider is setting the date and time of our meetings. So I found out today that today was not an early release day, and I know you guys are going into summer, but we're trying to figure out the best that works for you guys as students. And I was going to suggest either the fourth Monday of every month or the fourth Wednesday of every month. And I didn't know if 4 o'clock worked, if this time worked for you guys, or if it needs to be later. If you guys want to check your schedules real quick.
And as a whole group, this is one of those where we need you to be vocal.
Yes.
So if there's, I know that as young people, you may be involved in activities at school or something else that may be regularly scheduled and may be something that would be conflicting. So if you have something like that, let's make sure we know that and we can make sure we work around that.
So in June, the fourth Monday of the month would be June 24th, and the fourth Wednesday would be June 26th. And then from there, we'll set out, depending on what you guys want to do, what day of the week you guys want to do, and the time, that we'll try to set those same times for the meetings going forward. What time do you guys get out of school? I don't even know. 3:30. Okay. So you may want to do something more along the lines of like 4:30. Does anyone have a suggestion or
4:30 could work.
for the days? So we'll start with the day first, and then.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
do it Wednesday.
I can't do Tuesday or Thursday or Monday.
Okay, so Wednesday probably sounds best for everybody. Okay, so we'll do the fourth Wednesday. And then what time do you think works best for everybody? Would 4:30 work better?
4:30.
4:30? Okay. And then as a board, if there's all, you can always go to, we will go to the chair if there's a conflict, sometimes you guys might have conflicts for, like you said, with other after-school activities or something like that, or we may need to call a special meeting to do something special, then we'll get with the chair and then we'll bring that back to you guys at a meeting. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, June 26th at 4:30. And at that time, Joshua will sit where I'm sitting as the chair, and I'll sit as the board liaison. And then I will also have a script for you. I do a script for the mayor, so I'll do a script for you to help along with the procedures as far as we go. And then the next meeting, I'm hoping to have some guest speakers for you guys. Hopefully it's the city manager. Like I said, I know that Parks and Recreation really wants to get involved with this board as well. And then we can discuss activities and plans going forward for the year. We do have parades and other volunteer activities that I would like for you guys to get involved in if you guys want to get involved in. There's an organization called the Florida League of Cities. They're the ones that they do education and help cities set up youth advisory councils as well. So I got a lot of the information to help create a youth advisory board from them. And once a year, they're doing a summit. So they have a summit coming up in October in DeLand that I'm hoping that we would be able to have the board attend. So it's a Saturday coming up in October. But that's something, too, that we'll talk about going forward in our next meeting. So, okay. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Or why don't you go, I'm going to embarrass everybody, go around the room and just introduce yourself and what school you attend. And we'll start over here.
Okay. I'm Nadia Hamilton, and I go to Mainland High School.
And remind us of if you've been selected as an officer, which office?
So I've been selected as the board secretary.
Okay, and make sure you're speaking up because that's going to be very important for the public to be able to hear and know you guys. And I'm so proud to see y'all sitting there, but I want to make sure they hear you.
Yes.
My name is Brianna Gardner. I go to Mainland High School, and my role is vice chair.
Okay.
My name is Shaylin Dunn, and I go to Mainland High School.
Okay.
My name is Takoya Dublin, and I go to Spruce Creek High School.
Hello, my name is Joshua Stubbs. I'm a junior at Mainland High School, and I have been elected as the chair.
Okay.
My name is Ronnie Johnson, and I attend Mainland High.
Okay.
Okay.
So, as a body, do you guys have any other questions right now for me or for Mr. Jackson or? Yes.
Do I get to use the gavel?
Yes, you do.
But it's for hitting that block, not for hitting anyone else.
It's actually pretty fun. It's the first time I've had the gavel. So, okay. So we have scheduled our next meeting for the 26th at 4:30. I will get together and prepare an agenda for you guys prior to that meeting and send that to you guys. I'll be sending it electronically, a link to it, and it'll also be posted online. So that's how you guys will get access to the agendas. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 5 o'clock. And I will thank you guys. I'm so excited to get this started and to see what we can do for the city of Daytona Beach. Yes, ma'am, I'll go. Come on up to the microphone. And I'm glad you are, because one of the other things is that I forgot was, as far as additional policies, I am going to add a public comment section to our agenda to let members of the public come up. And as the city commission, I was going to set the timer at 3 minutes for the public. So, yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Selena Hamilton. I'm the mother of Nadia Hamilton.
Hi.
And my question is there an attire that they should be in when they come to these meetings?
Just the attire that they have on right now is okay. There's not a set dress code. If you watch our city commission, some of them are a little bit more casual, but as business casual as they can get.
Business casual
Yeah,
is a
business
very loose description. No, that's why I'm asking to be sure if they're coming from school and unlike
If it's
Nadia.
appropriate for school, then it should be appropriate for here. So if it's something where they're like,
Well,
oh, you
that's
don't think
not
so?
necessarily true. That's why I'm asking that, to be a little more specific when you're talking with them, because
Okay.
they need to know what is okay and what is not okay.
Yeah.
Even if it is casual, it's business
Can I
casual.
speak to that? You know, for my age group, I would say church clothes. I know church clothes have changed even nowadays as well. But, you know, just something that's just a comfortable but appropriate dress. And even a band shirt or a golf shirt is okay if it's you know, just appropriate. Don't go and get anything that's kind of wild
No,
and
so
crazy.
sweatpants and
I mean, you
no
probably
holy
don't want to come.
jeans. No.
If you come and, like, say you showed up in bicycle shorts,
Mhm.
we're not going to throw you out, but it's probably not the most appropriate thing to wear for this setting.
So we're gonna say no guidelines, basically. That's what we're sticking with.
Well,
Because
I
I'm
guess
thinking that they are being mentored as to how they should present themselves. And so without having any specific guidelines on how they're dressed, then I don't think that's gonna do them any service moving forward as young adults.
Appreciate it. That's fair.
But yeah, and that's something that we can bring up too at the next meeting. Like I said, most of the boards don't have a dress code per se. They want people to use their best judgment. So,
But you make a good point.
you
in
make a
terms of
valid
their,
point, and I will.
Their development.
Yeah,
So there may be on suits and ties.
I don't see anyone wearing anything today that would be considered. Were there any other questions or comments? Any of the members of the public like to
Can we
speak?
take the folders?
Yes, those are for you. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Gloria Robinson, and my question is, when they come to these meetings, will we always be able to sit in their meetings as we are today?
Yeah,
Or
you're
they
your.
will be closed meetings?
Nope, they don't have closed meetings. They're open to the public, and you're a member of public regardless of your relation to any of the board members. Yep.
Well, actually, Shaylin, Takoy, and Ron is members of our church.
Okay, I
They're
think
the
I've
same church.
spoken to you on the phone.
Absolutely. So they're same church members, and we transport them, except Takoy, his mom is here, she transport him.
Okay.
But sometimes when she's working, I'll probably be transporting also.
No,
I just need
that's
to know
fine.
if I need to wait, you know. or-
It's like I said, it's open to the public. Any member of the public, they don't have to be a citizen of Daytona Beach. Anyone can come to City Hall and see an open meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right, guys, thank you very much. And you guys have a good evening, and we'll see you next month. And I'll be sending communications back and forth between you. Thank you.
You know.